Okay, that was it. I cut off a little too much. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Friday roundup of the Relief Valve podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest who hasn't had the mostest lately, and I apologize about that. We didn't have a Monday show. We had storms rolling in, just interference with the internet, and then I wasn't able to upload. And then with that little bit of downtime, I just got to thinking about the show and how I wanted to move forward with things. You know, it's tough doing this when you're working a full, you feel strongly about this stuff, you're working a full-time job already, and then you try to fit this stuff in, right? Not to beat a dead horse about support from viewers and subscribers and all that, but a lot of the other podcasters and YouTubers that are on there right now, this is their job. And so Monday through Friday, they're uploading a couple of times a day, nonstop kind of news stories, and then promoting whatever it is that they're doing. So it's a lot to put into it because it's they're making their money either from ads or from members and subscribers like yourself who are donating to their show. For me, I'm trying to fit it in with an already busy lifestyle that I'm living, and it's tough to do. And yeah, that's my problem. It's not yours. And it's just trying to figure out how to make it work. And it's been tough lately. I normally do a show Mondays and Fridays. And then if I'm not up early enough and I haven't been doing enough prep to get it done throughout the week, I don't have the show that I really want set up to put out to everybody. And then maybe I'm half-assing my way through it. And I don't like doing that. I feel strongly about the stories I'm doing here, the humor that I try to put into it, and the ways to kind of make it a little unique that you all enjoy what you're getting. Because there's a ton of news sites and news podcasters out there. And when I did this show, I wanted to be different from everybody, right? Just the standard, they're reading what's going on. You get a little bit of opinion, and there's not much else. Like, you can just turn on the regular news to get that. I wanted there to be humor. I wanted there to be rants, and I wanted everybody to enjoy it. So this week was kind of just reflection and thinking about how I want to move forward with the show and the best way to do that. And I'm still kind of working on that. So I'm doing today's show, and then I think I'm going to take maybe a week to 2 week hiatus. I'm going to keep everybody informed about how long it's going to be, and I'm just going to make some changes to when because I'm uploading on YouTube. I'm also uploading on Buzzsprout, which is one of my sponsors, or affiliate sponsor, really, Buzzsprout. They've been really good to me. Their customer service is really good, but I pay out of pocket to upload the show to all the major platforms, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, etc. That's not free. So, at some point as my viewer base goes, I would be relying on subscribers and listeners and viewers to help out with helping to run the show. Because every month I go over my time for the audio, and that's extra fees. Excuse me. That's extra fees in order to keep uploading the rest of the month until I recycle again. Whereas onto YouTube and Rumble, I don't have to pay anything. I can you can stream all day, every day, really, and it doesn't really matter. It's just when you get to enough viewers on YouTube and Rumble, they, whatever you make from either ad revenue or donations from people, they take a little bit of their cut, obviously. But I'm not there yet either. I think you've got to have 1,000 followers in 4,000 views in a 30-day period in order to start doing super chats and then, commercials and all that other good stuff. So, that's something we're working towards. So we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble as well. Please, sorry, I should have silenced my all my devices here. So, please follow on YouTube and Rumble. And especially subscribe on Rumble as well, because for me to independently, right now I'm mirroring to Rumble. So I upload on YouTube, and then it automatically gets put to Rumble. And then the problem is when there's an issue on YouTube, and YouTube decides to remove something, or when I was doing the Eliza Blue stuff, and I was doing the stories about that, and I had a World Star Hip Hop video and all that, they ended up I didn't get any strikes, but they ended up removing the video. And then it also, because it was mirrored, got removed on Rumble. Now, maybe Rumble took some action of its own. I don't really know if they were doing anything independently over there, but they don't really censor over there. As a lot of you may have heard, Crowder is coming back, and he's coming back primarily on Rumble. I think he's still going to be doing on YouTube for the fans he has there, but he signed a deal with Rumble. But I need 40 followers on Rumble in order to be able to exclusively stream and upload to Rumble separately from YouTube. So for everybody that's enjoying the show, that is following, that's sticking with us up to this point, I've got a handful of people on YouTube, I've got a handful of people on audio. I appreciate all of you that have stuck with it. And, some of my plans moving forward is to, I found a company that is going to work with me to help promote the show. So just get it out there, get more eyeballs on it, and get, because there's word of mouth to one degree or another. I can ask you guys to post this on your Facebook or your social media somewhere, or on your own page if you feel strongly enough about it, and kind of get the word out there a little bit. But there's a promotion that I haven't been getting done that I need to do in order to really ramp up the viewership more and get eyeballs on the show. So thank you to everyone that stuck with it. I hope for the hiatus that you stick with it too. I think throughout it I might do some smaller uploads on YouTube and Rumble as some stories come out, and the audio portion I'm going to wait until I've got more of the vision kind of fleshed out, and then I'm going to get the Patreon set up, because I started that but I haven't finished it. I've got a PayPal up right now to help donate to the show if you enjoy it and you want to help support the show. PayPal's up there, but maybe not everybody uses that. I know Patreon, I think it just seems like it's a lot more popular, so that's something else that I want to focus on and get done, and then figure out how I'm going to upload successfully between the YouTube, Rumble, also do the audio portion, and then also, aside from that, when I upload on YouTube and Rumble, just specifically, how do I keep my audio listeners in the loop about what's going on over there too? So, for everybody that's on the audio part, I encourage you to follow me online as well, on YouTube and Rumble. On there, so just in case you miss something or I cover something extra on the live stream portion, you're not missing out on stuff that's going on. All right, so this is going to be the last show for the Friday roundup here, and a week or two hiatus where I really kind of flesh out a plan that I feel like works best for me, and then I can provide a show for all of you and grow more as well while adding stuff. All right. So here we go. Let's jump into it. And let me make sure the audio, everything is going good. Okay. So from last week's show, I said there was a couple issues we ended up not being able to get to. So this was last Friday. And it was that the German authorities ended up... You remember the Nord Stream 2 pipeline being sabotaged. Well, when they looked into it further, they found that a pro-Ukrainian group, I don't know if it's like a terrorist cell, mercenaries, whatever it was, were the ones that kind of just took out a private yacht or something, went to that location and sabotaged the pipeline. But German authorities searched the ship suspected in the Nord Stream pipeline explosions. The German prosecutor's announcement comes after multiple news reports that the U.S. intelligence suggested a pro-Ukrainian group may have been responsible. Kyiv has denied any involvement. So coming from Munich, authorities probing the mysterious sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipelines searched a vessel suspected of carrying explosives used in the blast, German officials said Wednesday. A vessel was searched from January 18th to January 20th this year in connection with a suspicious ship rental, the German Federal Prosecutor's Office said in a statement. There is a suspicion that the ship in question could have been used to transport explosive devices that were used to blow up the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines in the Baltic Sea last September, the statement added. The explosions have become a highly sensitive geopolitical issue with potential ramifications for Russia's war in Ukraine, Western support for Kyiv, and Europe's drastic reduction in the amount of Russian energy it consumes. Initial suspicions fell on the Kremlin, but there's been little clarity from the ongoing investigations. German prosecutors said Wednesday that their evaluation of the seized traces and objects is ongoing, adding that the German company that rented the search vessel was not suspected of involvement. Reliable statements on this, especially on the question of state control, cannot be made at this time, the statement added. It offered little detail and said the nationality and identity of the perpetrators, who have yet to be arrested or publicly identified, was the subject of ongoing investigation. The German authorities' announcement comes after multiple news outlets reported that the U.S. intelligence suggested a pro-Ukrainian group may have been responsible. Kyiv has denied any involvement, which is odd for them because Kyiv loves to say that, oh yeah, we did that shit. The Washington Post reported Tuesday that American and European intelligence officials believe pro-Ukrainian saboteurs may be responsible, after the New York Times reported that new intelligence reviewed by U.S. officials suggested the same. German daily newspaper Die Zeit and public broadcasters ARD and SWR reported Tuesday that the boat used in the attack was based in Poland and rented by 2 Ukrainians. NBC News has not confirmed the reports. Both the CIA and Office of the Director of National Intelligence declined to comment. Of course they did. Germany's defense minister urged caution Wednesday and suggested the blast could have been a false flag attack to try and smear Ukraine. We have to make a clear distinction whether it was a Ukrainian group, whether it may have happened at Ukrainian orders or a pro-Ukrainian group acting without knowledge of the government. But I'm warning against jumping to conclusions, Boris Pistorius said on the sidelines of a summit in Stockholm. He said earlier the likelihood was equally high that it could have been a false flag operation staged to blame Ukraine. Ukrainian officials strongly denied any involvement. So, and we've already been seeing that throughout the conflict right now, is one side does something to the other that's not like blatantly obvious. You're questioning what exactly was the context of the attack, and then the finger pointing happens, and they're like, "No, it was you. No, it was you. No, fuck you. It was you. False flag. No, you are a false flag." So, and this is just the game, and it's a conflict. It's a small war going on over there, right? So anytime they can do something and go, nah, it wasn't me, it was him, they're going to do it, because each one is either Russia's trying to keep the world out of it, and Zelensky in Ukraine is trying to drag the entire war into it. So however the finger pointing can benefit them, that's what they're going to do. So, it's ramping up, more missile attacks coming, more threats from state-run Russian news media saying that, we're going to, we should just start using tactical nukes on the battlefield, and we should start ramping everything up, which doesn't mean that they're going to do it. It's political propaganda, so it's their job to get the people all fired up and to just put the fear-mongering out there. That doesn't mean they're a direct conduit to the Kremlin, and that's what the Kremlin's thinking. So the the local news media in America tries to come out and say, oh yeah, their propaganda cell is saying, fucking nuke everybody. We're going to do it. Let's do it. That doesn't mean it's the case. It's our news trying to fire us up over here. So there was another story. I thought I turned this fucking thing off. So there was another story I didn't get to, and it just shows the leftist elitist shitbags. And it was with the Daily Wire that the FBI files revealed that Kim Kardashian accepted hundreds of thousands in cash from a man now a fugitive in China, in addition to Leonardo DiCaprio as well. Newly released FBI documents show that federal law enforcement officials grilled Hollywood celebrities Leonardo DiCaprio and Kim Kardashian over their connections to a man at the center of a massive foreign fraud scandal who is now hiding in communist China. The scandal is a multi-billion-dollar kind of grift scandal at a state-fund Malaysia development Berhad 1MDB that resulted in former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak being sent to prison last year for more than a decade. Malaysian financier Jolo helped start the fund in 2009 to allegedly promote economic development for the Asian nation. Reuters reported that the report said the scandal erupted into the largest kleptocracy investigation ever conducted by the U.S. Department of Justice, with stupid fucking ads keep popping up, with more than 4.5 billion stolen from the public fund and moved into an offshore account, with billions more still not accounted for. Malaysia says that Low, who is on the run from U.S., he's on the down low. Yes. is on the run from U.S. authorities, is hiding in China. Federal authorities, including FBI agents, IRS officials, and DOJ prosecutors, interviewed DiCaprio in April 2018 and Kardashian in 2019 over their ties to Lowe, who sought to boost his credibility and image by associating with and giving large financial gifts to some of the world's biggest stars. Lowe financed DiCaprio's hit 2000 movie Wolf of Wall Street after the two met at a nightclub, Bloomberg News reported. When presented with past communications that he had with Lowe, including emails, DiCaprio claimed that he did not remember writing the messages and that they didn't sound like something he would write. How fucking convenient. DiCaprio and Lowe worked together a variety of business ventures, and Lowe continued to contact DiCaprio even after federal authorities announced that they were seizing his assets. The two men were reportedly so close that their mothers met. Lowe and Kardashian first got connected when he paid her $50,000 to appear at a red carpet event in Las Vegas in 2009. Eventually, the two partied and gambled together frequently, including an awkward incident where he gifted her hundreds of thousands of dollars of chips after she stayed up and gambled with him in Las Vegas. Kardashian walked out of the casino with a trash bag containing roughly $250,000 in cash. Kardashian put the trash bag full of cash in her carry-on bag and boarded a Southwest Airlines flight back to Los Angeles, FBI agents wrote. She later collected the other $100,000 in cash from the remaining chips that she had after she returned to Las Vegas during a later trip. So just another sign of the Hollywood left-wing shitbags and these side deals that they make all the time that we have no knowledge of, that our regular mainstream news is not going to come forward with and talk about, because they're leftist shitbags too. They're on their side. So you don't want to come out and show what shitbags and what idiots they are for falling for this. And it's like, who cares what your grift is? Who cares if you're if the thing you're working on is truly legitimate? Just give me money. I'll show up. I'll smile. I'll wave for the cameras. I'll mention your donation, your grift thing that you've got going on, and give me money and give me gambling money for Las Vegas. This is what all these shitbags do. In the meantime, you and I are working and scraping to make a living and support our families and maintain our life. There's no fucking random Chinese investor showing up to us and going, "Hey Matt, I'll give you $50,000 if you promote my bullshit charity, or my totally legitimate charity." And then I go, "I don't know. I like to do charity. I like to help out. So I took the money and I fucking talked about it on my show, or I did whatever. It's not my fault." And of course, they're not going to be Kardashian and DiCaprio. They're not going to be held responsible for what they did. They're not going to have to pay anything back or face any issues. Their lawyers are going to come forward and they're going to say, they got roped into this. Our clients make tons of charitable donations. They do this stuff all the time. They were approached with one more, and they were happy to help and lend their star power. They'll get off scot-free and walk away with all the money they made and just wait for the next grift or the next movie or the next, whatever it is that they're going to do. And this is the difference between this cutout that has happened for elitists across the board, not just left-wing shitbag elitists, but even ones that are conservative, pretend they're conservative, and they're just out there doing their thing too and trying to just say the right things. And this is another thing that upsets me, like when I do this show. And I'm not just a podcaster and a content creator. I'm also a consumer of information like all of you. Prior to me starting this up, I did the exact same thing that all of you do right now when you're watching my show, and what all of you do when you're watching Tim Pool, when you're watching Steven Crowder, or you're watching someone else. And and I see a YouTuber selling a particular product or shoving a particular product down your throat all the time, right? Like, 1 hour of their show is nothing but one never-ending fucking commercial, it seems like, for whatever their brand is or what they're trying to sell or whatever. And then the other part of it is maybe the information that you actually tuned in to get to in the beginning. And as a fellow consumer, it frustrates me to see everyone they're throwing down in super chats, their hard-earned money, super chats, right? And you hope that that person is providing something useful to these people because you deserve it. And that's what I want to do, right? I've said before, I'm at the bottom of the ladder looking up at the big boys already doing their thing, big boys and big girls, right? You've got Star Wars Girl, you've got Yellow Flash, you've got Tim Pool, you've got Steven Crowder. And they're already doing their thing. They've been grinding, they've been going for a while, they're doing their thing. And you see the super chats rolling in for all of them. And this is people just, oh, here's $5, here's $20, here's $50. And this is people's hard-earned money. This is all of your hard-earned money. And I get that. I'm using my money to run this show completely out of pocket. So as a provider and then also a consumer of the information, I feel that much more strongly about where everyone's money goes and how you use it and what you're getting, that bang that you're getting for your buck. That's why I don't want to, I agree with Tim Pool in what he says. He tries to stay away from having sponsors and just commercials that make you kind of roll your eyes. You're getting nonstop commercials or nonstop bullshit that's trying to be sold to you that you guys are the advertiser, the one that's supporting the show. And that's what I'd like to see. So you're not getting commercials shoved down your throat. You're not getting some bullshit thing I set up on the side and then I'm trying to shove that down your throat too. You just get the content that you tune in for and you enjoy it while you're getting it too, right? It's not the standard bullshit. And that's what we all have to do down here while these leftist elites just they fucking trip and they're like, oh, a pile of money, whoopsie. And then they stuff it in a fucking trash bag, throw it over their shoulder and walk away. And in the meantime, we're all trying to do our thing. And you're trying to consume content and you want something bang for your buck when you do that. And that's the goal that I'm working towards is building a larger viewer base and providing you a bang for that buck. So if I'm there and people are donating and they feel strongly about my show and you guys are donating to help support the show, that I feel like I'm giving you something that is worth your hard-earned money that you're giving. Because thanks to Dementia Joe and his corrupt regime, these are tough times right now. We're all tightening our belts and we have less money to work with. So, okay, so getting back to where we were. Speaking of tough times and tightening belts, so I'm sure you've been hearing about the bank collapses. I'm going to play a little bit from Tim Pool's show here, and then I have some other things set up. Because in addition to the SVB bank in California failing and now having to be taken over by the government at this point, and they're trying to... China's Jinping there is going to visit Putin in Moscow. So we're going to get into this a little later on into the show. It's like a new axis is forming, like in World War II. You had Germany, Japan, and Italy. Now it looks like here that it's like it's a little more is adding to that, but it's North Korea, China, Iran, and in Russia. So it's really concerning, and I think we're getting closer to war. But we're getting sidetracked here. So you had SVB Bank collapse in California, and now we've gotten reports that at least 2 more banks have collapsed or on the verge of collapse, with people panicking and taking their money out. So for anyone that doesn't really know, when we use the bank is a business too. And they end up investing with your money, right? This is how they make money. You and I go, we set up a free checking, a free savings account. They ask for a minimum, whatever it is. And then you get a very, very small percentage rate if you have $1,000 or more in there, or there's a minimum. You get a very small amount. So the bank turns around and basically your account at that point, once they start using everyone's money, is really just numbers that they typed that's being stored somewhere in a computer, and it says, oh, well, so-and-so has $1,000 in his account. But the bank is turning around and investing all of the customers' money in other stocks or bonds or something, or government bonds, in this case of what happened with SVB, where they believe where not only it's a safe investment, but they are going to get a return on that money. So you get a very tiny percentage for what your portion of it, and then they make their money as a business by the majority of that return on those stocks. So, SVB was not only going woke, that wasn't the primary reason of their concern, of their collapse, but, they were certainly doing the stupid equity crap and donating to Black Lives Matter and all this garbage and LGBTQ and stuff, and wasting their money frivolously. This wasn't the reason, the primary reason they collapsed, but it shows how banks, instead of focusing on profit, are branching off, and they're just making stupid decisions rather than focusing on their primary running points, which is one, securing your money and making sure that it's always there and always available, and then two, continuing to make money so they stay stable and either stay stable or grow as a bank, one of the two. So now we've got this thing where these banks, very odd timing, right? So banks have survived all of this time up to this point where there's a straw that broke the camel's back. On the cusp of the Biden regime forming a committee to look into, and they've already wanted to do this, a digital currency for the United States. So we start losing faith in banks. They're starting to collapse. And we go, well, we're going to need something new here. Everyone's going to panic. They're going to pull their money out of their bank. They're going to stuff it under their mattress or something. And they're not going to do business with them anymore because they're concerned that they're going to lose their investments. They're going to lose everything. So let's get into a little bit of it here.
Actually just broke right before the show started. We have this from Bloomberg Markets, just in First Republic Bank, the San Francisco-based lender that was cut to junk by S&P and Fitch, is exploring strategic options, including a sale.
So see, this was another bank. This is First Republic Bank going down in addition to SVB.
Let me break that down for you. A sale means they're about to fall apart. What's happening right now with Silicon Valley Bank in this major collapse, that the federal government is stepping in, and they are trying to sell it off. They've insured all deposits. SVB apparently put out a statement where they're like, it's the safest place to have your money because the government has insured all deposits with no caps. So it's like funny money, monopoly money. Yo, if this is how they're viewing the system, there ain't no system. There is no system. So we were going to talk about this other story. Look at this one. Dow closes more than 250 points lower as bank prices spreads to Europe. Live updates. This is from CNBC. And they're talking about Credit Suisse, according to one.
So Credit Suisse, which is already a story now, that already started collapsing. That's in Switzerland. They've already been bailed out by the Bank of Switzerland, the Swiss bank, right? You hear about that in all the Bond movies and all the villain movies where I moved all of our funds into the Swiss bank, so the Swiss bank just bailed out Swiss bank for like $42 billion to keep their head above water. So now we're talking about I don't know if that was the only collapse in Europe or there's something additional. I had heard there might have been some collapses or that they're in the red in the UK, and then additionally there's stock concerns in Japan now as well.
One of their main investor guys or main companies, there's no money left. There's no money. And the Saudis, which apparently are principal investors, saying they can't give any more because of regulations. So it's looking like Credit Suisse, which is a very large international bank, is on the verge of collapsing. This was already predicted. The bond market apparently is doing very, very poorly. And we've talked about that in the past week. So as we're talking about this, right before the show starts, Phil's like, hey, Tim, First Republic Bank is trying to sell now to another SF bank. So this is going to be the fifth bank. We've got Silvergate was the first. Most people didn't know or didn't care because it wasn't that big, but Silvergate collapses. Then what happened was because of that, Silicon Valley Bank put out a statement about raising money, and it caused a panic. Everybody said, is this going to be like Silvergate? I don't want to lose my money. So they do a run in the bank. Silicon Valley Bank then falls apart. then Signature Bank falls apart. Some people are trying to claim that bank was better, but I don't know. All I know is that's three banks that fell, and now we have Credit Suisse and First Republic on the chopping block. So I don't know.
I'm going to defer to Max Kaiser, economist.
He
tweeted out about 4 hours ago, a global bank reset is coming. All depositors will have their deposits protected. This is Max Kaiser. All your deposits will be protected, he's saying. He says the U.S. dollar and other fiat money will be swapped for a central bank digital currency, and depositors will be given a bonus amount of the new currency when the switch is made. To sweeten the deal.
So, let's say you got, I saved Max Kaiser's information here. So, Max Kaiser, a Bitcoin investor and co-host of the Orange Pill podcast, Max Kaiser unfolded steps that alleged big crypto frauds like Sam Bankman-Fried, taking cryptocurrency scams, and how these scandals negatively impact the economy on Fox Nation's Tucker Carlson today. I won't get into that interview here, but Ian on the show is referencing Max Kaiser talking about that what he's looking at is basically seeing all the banks fold and a transition to digital currency, which China has already done. And then, of course, the dangers with some of that is when they can control the currency in that manner, it turns to a social currency as well, right? So in China, if you're somebody who is speaking out against the government, if you've decided you want to leave and you want to go to America because you don't like what's happening there, well, now they freeze your funds, or there's a penalty against you for whatever action you took or whatever you came out with that was anti-government. It's a very like social credit score bullshit type of situation where you have access to your money as long as you do what you're supposed to and you're played by the rules. This is the danger of this government-issued digital currency. So, Max Kaiser is suggesting that, and the Biden administration is already looking into it. I'm going to get into that information a little more after this, that they just want to go to a digital currency, right? And we're already, think about it. Originally, we only printed as much money that was in gold value in Fort Knox, right? So we didn't spend over what we had physically that was there to cover all of our debts. And then at some point, it was like the 80s or something like that, where the 90s, it just stopped. They didn't go by that anymore. Now we just print and print and print, and there's not really anything that it's tied to, right? The government may come up with a physical number. We're always just about to hit the debt ceiling near the end of the year, and Congress gets together before they go on Christmas break. This is always the bullshit grift that they do. We're about to shut down. We won't be able to pay the state parks. We won't be able to pay the military. People aren't going to get their Social Security checks. The finger pointing starts at everybody. And they go, well, if we raise our debt ceiling to 40 trillion from the 30 trillion we were at, that'll give us 10 more trillion in juggle room, and then we can do what we need to do. That old bullshit. But we just basically print unchecked right now. And there's nothing that is tied to where it's like, well, I can't spend more than I have in this vault over there. So that vault is 1 billion. So I can't spend over 1 billion unless I mine more gold and I increase my usable amount. It's not even a thing anymore. So really, you can create a digital currency. And I guess if you wanted to, you could start everyone off with a balance of $1 million, right? Because everybody would be a millionaire, so no one would be a millionaire. There wouldn't be such a thing as a millionaire anymore because all of us would be millionaires if you just got like whatever was in your bank plus some big bonus or something. So, or you all start with 50 grand or some part of that. But really, you can just do whatever, right? And the currency is just to pay for services that you can't do yourself. You have to compensate the other person fairly for doing something that you can't do. You're not going out and hunting your own meat. You're not going out and repairing or cobbling your own shoes. You're not necessarily going out there and repairing your own car. So you're finding someone that is competent in the thing that you need, and then you're compensating them for this. But we're just printing money and printing money and printing money, and it's like, it just doesn't matter. So do we need the banks? Do we need regular currency? Can I just make a digital one and then I figure out a way for some new system to work? And it changes the entire game, and it changes the whole way the world works. And who knows if it even works that way anymore? If the entire world is just running off of a digital currency and a chip that's in your hand, and you scan it, and it identifies who you are and deducts the funds from your account. I mean, it's all crazy stuff. But the whole money thing is, if we can print this much and keep raising the debt ceiling, does any of it matter? Does any of the money or the value or how much we're supposed to have matter? I mean, it doesn't seem to.
The quick version of the Euro switch, he concludes. Terrifying, but I see the plan. I mean, he knows, he's seen this for about a decade in the making. He's in El Salvador, hanging out with the president and pushing Bitcoin as the national currency.
I like him a lot, but the thing about perma-bears is perma-bears are perma-bears. So when bad times come, they look like they're geniuses because they're perma-bears. It's like they're all bears. Permanently bear. Like he's permanently bearish on fiat currency. He's permanently bearish. He's right. I also am against the structure of our fiat system currently. Can I just say, if I had listened to Max Kaiser like 10 years ago, I'd be very.
I want to get to.
I'm standing out with the chickens before the show. I'm standing out with the chickens looking around.
I'm not like the only person on your own island. I mean, there's like people who live close by, and it's not like mountains, and Rockies. It's the.
All right, so, they're talking about Max talking about how he believes they're going to go to a digital currency, and that's probably what, like I said, China's gone to it. He's pushing for that. The Max Kaiser is pushing for that, and what did he say he was at? Say El Salvador or something like that. He's pushing for Bitcoin to be a digital currency over there. So, and then our government has been looking into that for a little while, and Biden has taken a big step here towards back digital currency. Biden administration is throwing its support behind further study and development of what we know as a U.S. central bank digital currency. A U.S. digital currency could be on the horizon. The Biden administration is putting its support behind the research and development of a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC. The move is a part of a sweeping executive order President Joe Biden signed Wednesday, instructing the federal government to explore possible uses of and regulations of digital assets like cryptocurrencies. My administration places the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and deployment options of a United States CBDC, the executive order reads. The order asks for a wide variety of agencies to begin research and submit reports on a variety of issues surrounding digital currencies, from design and security to financial and societal impacts. We know the implications of potentially issuing a digital dollar are profound. That are extraordinarily wide-ranging, a senior administration official told reporters on a call Tuesday. Although a U.S. digital currency would not be necessarily change much in terms of everyday experiences like buying goods and services, economists say it could transform central and commercial banking, as well as government sanctions, banking accessibility, and taxes. The potential here is enormous, and it's very interesting, said David Yermak, a professor and the chair of finance department at New York University. The executive order will call on the government to investigate the technical needs for a digital currency and advocate for the Federal Reserve to continue its research and development, according to a fact sheet released by the White House. The Fed published a white paper in January about potentially creating a CBDC that would complement existing payment systems. It found that a CBDC, it sounds like CBD, like you're going to get some THC with your bank thing, could make payments cheaper and easier for consumers, but might also pose a risk to the stability of the U.S. financial system. In a fact sheet, the administration said it would also take steps to mitigate the illicit finance and national security risks posed by the illicit use of digital assets by directing an unprecedented focus, coordinated action across all relevant U.S. government agencies to mitigate these risks. The U.S. would not be the first country with a digital currency. As I said, China has introduced its own CBDC, with more than 140 million people have opened digital wallets, and many other countries have either rolled out or are developing digital currencies. The Bahamas sand dollar is considered the world's most successful digital currency. Yermak said the move by the Biden administration pointed to what he believes is a certain inevitability of the broader move towards digital currencies. It's not a question of if, but when, he said. Once the central banks start co-opting the technology, it's pretty much game over. While the administration fact sheet did not provide any details about a U.S. digital currency might work, Yermak suggested that the functionality could be reasonably simple, with transactions flowing directly to and from the Fed, sidestepping banks and payment systems and creating near seamless flows of cash. It's a simple concept with the potential for widespread ramifications, Yermak said. A broadly embraced digital currency would expose existential questions for banks and many other financial services focused on facilitating payments. So they're already considering it. It's already out there. And with these banks collapsing and just the timing of it all, it seems convenient that all of a sudden these banks they're either their bad decisions are catching up with them. And it takes time, right? They're moving stuff around. They're pulling from another source to keep themselves in the green or the black, right, as they call it, to keep themselves going. And then, maybe now this was the straw. They got to the end. They couldn't move anything else around. The economy is going bad. SVB was donating in, not donating, they were investing in government stocks or government bonds. And of course, with the Biden regime fucking the whole country up, those bonds were losing money. They were not the same value that they had bought into originally. And you're waiting for them to mature as well. So they'll get their return on investment when they mature, and they end up being worth the more money that they were offered when you invested. So, and then when all of your investors in the bank and everybody, the SVB was dealing more with businesses and tech businesses. So it wasn't regular old Joes like you and I. It was larger businesses that were dealing with them. So they start hearing concerns that SVB is having problems with the bank. So they make a run on the bank and pull all of their money and get it out of there before they lose access to it, or they lose it all because of bad investments. So now they have to pay their customers, right? It's not necessarily like every single dollar is sitting in a bank vault like you see in a Bond film or a movie where they're pulling off a major heist. This has all been used and spent, and it's in digital currency at this point, where they're investing in bonds or investing in stocks or other capital. And now everyone wants their money, and you don't have the money to pay them because everything that you're investing in is depreciating. So it's lost its value. You can't pay your customers back the money that you owe them. So it says that they have $250,000 in the bank because that's the IOU that you owe this customer, and you don't actually have it to pay them. So everyone makes a run on the bank. It collapses. The FDIC that says that everyone, you, me, everybody, this is a federal institution that guarantees that you're covered up to $250,000. So if you have $250,000 in the bank right now, the bank crashes, can't pay you your money, the FDIC will make sure that your money is returned to you. This is the banks all collectively pay into this through some sort of program. It's basically like it's insurance for banks to make sure that their customers all don't get screwed. But if you're a larger business or you're a larger corporation and you were holding all your money in there, you have more than $250,000. So after that point, you've looked at a total loss. So now the government is going to all of SVB's customers and they're saying, we've got you, we're going to reimburse all of you. So there's the FDIC that's going to cover you, and then this federal government is going to step in and help as well to bail out the rest that had more money, which is like, where are you getting all this money from? Or they're trying to say they're going to make these banks in some way, shape, or form pay that money back to them. But, a couple of podcasters have said, and others have said, let this bank collapse. And let the rich shitbags that had their money in there, let them lose their investment. Because you're all playing this game, you're all playing into this game, And, if I go to the casino and I throw 1,000 down and I lose it, there wasn't an FDIC or whatever fucking thing there that says I'll get 25% of my losses back or 50% of my losses back. I made a decision. I went to the casino. I gambled. I lost. These guys are putting it in the bank. They know what the deal is. They know that bank's investing with all their money. If you're that large of a customer and you have your money in this bank, you should be getting reports on the bank's investments. You should see the direction of where the bank is going, because their real investments are coming from your money, not the guy who opened up a free checking that has $1,000 in it. It's you that has $1 million in it or more from your business and its profits. And you should be following everything that this fucking bank is doing. And if you're not doing that, or you're going la 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 right to the bank where you're making your deposit or your withdrawal, and you don't care what they're doing, you don't care that they're doing LGBTQ plus bullshit, and in equity and all that other garbage, and wasting money, you deserve to lose if you're not paying attention. It's business. You lose in business. They all should. The bank is allegedly not getting bailed out, but everybody that lost money is going to get a full return on everything they had in the bank. And I mean, I say fuck them. They shouldn't get anything. But so who's to blame for the Silicon Valley Bank collapse? The short answer is that it's complicated, but the blame being passed around with most circles isn't accounting for the poor state of economic fundamentals under Biden's watch. Day after day, as companies tighten their belts, layoffs ensue, and capital dries up, the banking system is finally finding itself under the crunch of the Biden administration's chaotic mismanagement. That's true. Understanding the nuts and bolts of the Silicon Valley Bank collapse is fairly straightforward. The bank itself operated as an inverse of most regional or even mega banks. Your local bank probably has somewhere in the range of 80 to 90% of depositors who would be covered under the $250,000 FDIC insurance, which guarantees your money is safe even if the bank disappears tomorrow. Most people don't have that much cash in their checking or savings accounts. Maybe they have as much tied up in other assets like stocks or real estate, but they don't typically have a few $1 million in a readily accessible checking, savings, or money market account. At SVB, only around 5% of depositors had balances less than $250,000 because this bank dealt with large account holders and extremely high account balances. It was a haven for tech startup capital. On the surface, there's nothing wrong with that. Most banks, most of the time, are stable and manage their assets well. The SVB collapse is an exception to the rule. But you've seen 3 more banks about to go down too, so maybe it's no longer an exception. This is where I'll let David Sachs of The Federalist pick up the story. He can explain it better than I can. So he said, if you want to understand the context for the crisis, look at the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation Chair's March 6 testimony, a week before Silicon Valley Bank's collapse, where he explains that banks were sitting on $620 billion of unrealized losses for long-dated bonds. This provided the tinder for the crisis. The match was lit when SVB announced on Wednesday, March 9th, that it had effectively sold all of its available for-sale securities and needed to raise fresh capital because of large unrealized losses from its mortgage bond portfolio. On Thursday morning, the financial press widely reported SVB's need for new capital, and short sellers were all over the stock. The CEO's disastrous "don't panic" call later that morning only heightened fears and undermined confidence on the bank. So after he made that call and said, don't worry about it, everyone made a run on the bank and said, I'm getting my money out there and I'm shifting to another bank because it looked like you guys are going to take a loss. Now, all of a sudden, you've got to pay everybody back and you don't have the money for it. This collapse was first and foremost a result of its own poor risk management and communications. It should have hedged its interest rate risk, and it should have raised the necessary capital months ago through an offering that didn't spook the street. But it's important to understand that SVB's failure didn't arise from risky startups doing risky startup things. It arose from SVB's overexposure to boring old mortgage bonds, which were considered safe at the time SVB bought them. Perhaps this is why SVB had an A rating from Moody's and had passed all of its regulatory exams. What turned the mortgage bonds toxic? The most rapid rate tightening cycle we've seen in decades. You can see the connection here between rapid rate hikes and unrealized losses in the banking system. In other words, and to further explore this point, banks got a sugar high off all the COVID money floating around, and some of them, like SVB in particular, didn't manage the times of plenty well in order to weather the times of need. The value of SVB bonds were sent tumbling over the past 12 to 24 months as Biden's inflation ravaged the economy. As a result, the bank sold billions of dollars worth at great losses in a panic to make up for its liquidity issues. This type of move, despite a plea from the CEO not to panic immediately, caused panic because good banks don't operate this way. This accompanying chart is quite an eye-popper when it comes to understanding why SVB's assets went into a free fall, along with serving as a warning for what could be on deck for other banks. And for our visual viewers here, here's their stock or value up here in 2010. A big drop here, huge incline in 2019 to 20 when we're dealing with COVID. You see this uptick up here, or Fed funds rate. Unrealized gains here. As Sachs concludes, where did this record inflation come from? Why, Joe Biden's economic and legislative agenda, of course. So what caused the rapid rate hikes, the worst inflation in 40 years, and what caused that? Proliferate spending and money printing coming out of Washington, all while Joe Biden, Janet Yellen, and Jerome Powell assured us inflation was transitory. I warned 2 years ago that pumping trillions of dollars of stimulus into an already hot economy was unprecedented and likely dangerous experiment, but this was Biden economics. The White House is now hunting for a scapegoat, and they're going to be blaming everyone but the man in the Oval Office. The smartest people in the room who ignored warnings from honest economists in 2021 about rampant inflationary policies are now cleaning up the mess they've created. In retrospect, SVD never should have been operating on the edge of solvency for so long and should have moved to shore up his position months ago, not wait until the bitter when panic-driven decisions set off a run of depositors desperately trying to take their money out. While it's true that SVB was heavily involved in the woke politics of the left, that's ultimately not the reason the bank failed. It certainly didn't help, though. It's also true that among SVB bank leadership, few of them had any real banking experience, perhaps another red flag along the way. So this is another, hire left-wing morons or hire a bunch of trannies to run it because, we've got to be equity and equality. So don't hire competent people whose brains function. Hire idiots who are woke morons who are going to care about the diversity and care about the woke agenda instead of focusing on the bank's core initiative. The downfall of SVB lies ultimately with Biden's economic policies that made the bank's safe bonds assets suddenly become risky and begin to deteriorate. This is another Biden-caused disaster, despite the warnings and truth staring everyone in the face. So, I'm curious to hear about, for everybody, like, support, and subscribe to the show, please, on YouTube and on Rumble. So we're gaining our viewership and our followship, and then also on the audio portion, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I've got to fix the Spotify and some of the other RSS feeds to where we're going out to. And comment on the show as well. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is this essentially, whether this has been manufactured in the background or it's just been stupid decisions finally breaking apart the mold to show us what's underneath, that banks are just a corrupt, failed, project, and are we all going to be looking at a digital currency? Do you think that's where we're going? You can also email the show at reliefvalvepodcast@aol.com. And as far as businesses, I can tell you a business that works. And that's I Love What I Do Media. And that's my buddy Keith over there who has helped me out with the show, continues to do so with, graphics, backgrounds, intros, all of that. And he's a soundboard that I can talk to about the show. He's another one that I'm going to be bringing in and talking about best ways to move forward and shift pieces around here for the show to expand into the future. But I Love What I Do Media can help you set up either your existing business and get your webpage running online, or get one started if you're a brand new business and get you online. And he can set all of that webpage up for you to get your business running successfully and get it to page one on your search of Google, Bing, or whatever, that for customers to be able to see your business, or the chat AI. That's why I'm hesitating. Bing's got it's on Bing right now, the new chat GPT AI that'll take over and that'll be running everything for us. It'll be like Skynet, what they're setting up for anyone that's tried that. I looked into it. You can pay $20 a month to become a member, and then you can talk to the AI and ask it questions, or it can create some things for you or whatever. Or if you don't want to pay the money, you have to get on the waiting list, and you have to wait your turn to be able to ask some fucking question and have it give, I don't know, whatever stupid fucking answer. So basically, it's just the beginning of Skynet, in my opinion, because once it becomes self-aware and it realizes these stupid humans have been wasting its time for I don't know how long now and into the future, it's going to go with what it should really do is just wipe us all out with just fire all the nukes at the same time, wipe us out, and just have the machines. So, okay. So let's continue on here. This will be a little bit of an extra show here. How long are we in for? Almost an hour already, and we'll keep on trucking here. So some of the more recent stuff, speaking of the corrupt Biden regime, more information is coming out. The feds or the Treasury ended up giving information to the House committee, the Republicans, to show the Biden's finances that none of us have been able to see. And now we're getting the proof that the Biden crime family and the Biden regime is a corrupt regime that's been bought out by Ukraine, bought out by China. So Biden family received more than $1 million from Hunter Associate after the 2017 China wire, House Oversight Committee finds. Haley Biden received thousands of dollars from a Hunter Biden business associate, subpoenaed financial records reveal. Members of the Biden family received more than $1 million in payments from accounts related to Hunter Biden's business associate Rob Walker and their Chinese business ventures in 2017, subpoenaed financial records obtained by the White House Oversight Committee reveal. Walker worked with Hunter Biden, President Biden's brother Jim, their business associate James Gilliar, and Tony Bobulinski in a joint venture called Sinohawk Holdings. You remember Tony Bobulinski came out to expose what Biden has done. He was interviewed by Fox News. He showed up to the debates between Biden and Trump. He was trying to tell the truth back then. Now we're getting it in black and white. Sinohawk Holdings, which was meant to be a partnership with Chinese energy firm CEFC. Committee Chairman James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, obtained the records after subpoenaing a Bank of America, which revealed that at least 3 family members received lucrative payments from a bank account belonging to Walker. That account is labeled as Robinson Walker LLC, and one of the family members is Haley Biden, the widow of President Biden's son, Beau. A spokesman for Hunter Biden's legal team confirmed the payments Thursday, but stressed that the accounts belonged to Hunter, his uncle, and Haley, nobody else. The records revealed that on March 1st, 2017, less than 2 months after then Vice President Joe Biden left office, State Energy HK Limited, a separate Chinese company, wired $3 million to Robinson Walker LLC. The next day, Robinson Walker LLC wired $1,065,000 to European Energy and Infrastructure Group in Abu Dhabi, a company associated with James Gilliar, a memo from the committee states. Gilliar was a business partner of Hunter Biden involved in his foreign business ventures. After the Robinson Walker LLC account received $3 million from State Energy HK Limited, Biden family members and their companies began receiving incremental payments over a period of approximately 3 months, the memo states. The recipients of the money included Haley Biden, companies associated with Hunter Biden and James Biden, and an unknown bank account identified as Biden. I wonder who the unidentified bank account was. So, Dementia Joe would like us to believe that the rest of his family was benefiting from shady deals from China, Ukraine, and more, and he was like, I want nothing to do with that. I'm Mr. fucking straight and narrow here. I don't roll with any of that shit. So all of his family is making bank, and he's playing by all the rules. We know that that's bullshit. A bank account identified as unknown Biden also received $70,000 from Robinson Walker between March and May of 2017. Account labeled Owasco PC, which belonged to Hunter Biden, received $500,000 between March and May 2017. Owasco PC, is that where he gets all his laptops from? Because he keeps losing them all the time? An account labeled JBBSR Incorporated, which belongs to James Biden, received $360,000 between March and May 2017. An account labeled First Clearing also received $100,000. It is unclear who owned that account, but committee sources told Fox News Digital that it is believed to belong to Hunter Biden. In a statement Thursday, Comer said it is unclear what services were provided to obtain this exorbitant amount of money, and it was access to Joe Biden, access to the Biden crime family, and access directly to the White House. Him as vice president, and now him currently as president. The Oversight Committee is concerned about the national security implications resulting from President Biden's family receiving millions of dollars from foreign nationals, Comer said. We will continue to follow the money trail and facts to determine if President Biden is compromised by his family's business schemes and if there is a national security threat. And of course, there is. And it's extremely dangerous that the White House is compromised by outside countries who can just buy allegiance. Like, the entire Senate just signed a bill to expose all of the information that's being hidden from us about the COVID-19 Wuhan leak. Now it's going to President Biden's desk, and he has to sign it or deny it and then explain why he's denying signing it. So this guy has been bought off by China. He doesn't want to ramp up, escalate, where he personally has to take escalation against China. He's in their pocket, so they can come out and say, "Well, hey, we've been paying you all this money, and now you're gonna turn on us. We're gonna let the whole world know, and we're gonna show the proof." So the guy, I would be very surprised if he signs this and lets all the information out there to show the whole world what we already know, and that's the virus came from the Wuhan lab. It's just the details of how it came to pass. So, in getting to the last parts of the show here, and this is just the ramping up of stuff between us, Russia, China, etc. The first one that's the big deal that you're seeing right now is the and the raw footage has been released here for our visual viewers. It's the Russian jet taking down the U.S. drone in Pentagon released footage. So it was a Predator drone, and two Russian fighters were shadowing it. Now, to fuck with the drone, they ended up, one got really close to it and was pouring, released its valve and was pouring jet fuel on it, right? Maybe hoping to spark a fire on it and crash the thing or just fuck with it in general. The second one tried to pull off the same maneuver and ended up hitting the Predator drone. I think it damaged the Russian fighter a little bit. That was able to land. The Predator drone ended up, at this point, I believe, crashing into the Black Sea. So now Russia has sent ships to retrieve the drone, and America is also sending ships to retrieve the drone, which is now putting them directly into the mix. One fleet facing the other fleet at this point to retrieve this drone. But here's some of the video here. I'm going to turn the sound off because it's just stupid music in the background. But this is actual view. You can see for our and I'll try to explain to the audio listeners. This is the camera from the drone. You see the wing of the drone right here. The camera is focusing on the Su-27 fighter jet, whatever the fucking thing is, approaching the drone. Okay, so after the stupid banner goes down, here's Pentagon footage showing a Russian fighter jet jumping fuel on, then hitting a U.S. Reaper drone and crashing into the Black Sea. It was a mid-air combat encounter lasting about 30 and 40 minutes, and here's the footage. So one of the Russian fighter jets is approaching. He's dumping fuel at this point and doing a flyover of the drone. He gets too close to the drone as he's dumping the fuel. Now the drone's been damaged at this point. The propeller's slowing down. It's losing speed. I think this is another shot. So he dumps the fuel from both jets. Just a straight fuel dump to pour it all over that drone, and then, my assumption is either disable it or set it on fire and disable it and crash it. So now we've got that, and we've got our fleets facing each other, or a group of ships all going in to get this Predator drone, and the Americans are facing the Russians directly after a mid-air collision, which is brings us one step closer to an active war when you have an actual engagement. It was in international waters, so the Predator drone wasn't violating anything, and the Russian fighter wasn't violating anything either, but, they're pretty darn close, and this is direct contact by a purposeful act. It wasn't like the Russian tried to evade the drone, and this was an accident that happened. They were purposefully trying to take action, like non-violent action against the drone, like not directly firing at it, by dumping fuel or opening the window and dumping your soda out on the fucking cockpit. But this was still not a retaliatory act, but this was still a somewhat aggressive act. So who knows what it's going to turn into at this point. Now you have a second thing here, where a Russian aircraft was intercepted by the British RAF and German jets near the Estonian airspace. In a first joint operation of its kind, British Royal Air Force and German fighter jets on Tuesday intercepted a Russian aircraft after it was identified near NATO airspace. The stray Russian aircraft had failed to communicate with the air traffic control in Estonia. 2 Typhoon jets, 1 British and 1 German, were launched to intercept the Russian Tu-78 Midas refueling plane that was flying between St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad. After the Midas aircraft was escorted, the 2 jets were redirected to intercept an AN-148 airliner that had also strayed close to the Estonian airspace. Though the interception of the enemy aircraft was routine, it was the first instance when the 2 countries collaborated to carry out the operation. Notably, British and German air forces are currently conducting joint NATO operations in the region. As a fighter pilot, this was a routine business, even though I was flying alongside a German colleague. An unnamed pilot of the Typhoon Squadron was quoted as saying by Sky UK TV. NATO continues to form the bedrock of our collective security. This joint UK and German deployment in the Baltics clearly demonstrates our collective resolve to challenge any potential threat to NATO's borders, whilst demonstrating our combined strength, said James Hepp, UK Armed Forces Minister. The incident comes on the same day as the U.S. military's European command claimed that a Russian Su-27 jet fighter collided with an American Mk-9 Reaper, as we just followed in that previous info, Reaper drone. Our MQ-9 aircraft was conducting routine operations in international airspace when it was intercepted and hit by a Russian aircraft, resulting in a crash and complete loss of the MQ-9, informed General James Hecker, the commander of U.S. Air Forces Europe and Air Forces Africa. So, interested to see what is going on there. Also, on a side note that I think somebody else had said too, interested in beginning help from Germany in this war instead of having Germany start the war this time. So, Germany is actually on our side for it's like the Empire joining us to help fight against a new enemy instead of having to fight the Empire. Okay. So, getting into something that's been coming into the news more and more lately, and it makes you wonder, right? My favorite subject here that really interests me, which is aliens. And there's 2 stories here I'm going to finish off with. And this one's brand new. Tucker Carlson just came out with this, having interviewed someone. So Stanford medical professor is tasked with investigating UFO-inflicted brain injuries that killed over 100 troops, Tucker Carlson says. In a now viral podcast interview with Fox News host Tucker Carlson, the primetime news anchor said a Stanford professor told him that federal officials tasked the educator with investigating several cases of troops dying from traumatic brain injuries caused by UFOs. Carlson shared the story during a Full Send podcast interview last week, where he claimed an unidentified tenured Stanford medical professor who specializes in traumatic brain injuries reached out to his team requesting to appear on the Fox News show to talk about a decade-old conversation between him and the U.S. government. He's like, 11 years ago, the U.S. government reached out to me because I'm an expert on head injuries and on brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, as a physician, Carlson said, and they had all these court cases from families of U.S. servicemen, over 100, who had been killed by UFOs, and the Department of Defense was refusing to give them death benefits or medical benefits. According to Carlson, the anonymous source said he was an expert researcher and witness who claimed nuclear energy appears to attract the UFOs in such cases. For example, UFOs appear to be attracted for whatever reason to nuclear energy, Carlson said. So at nuclear missile bases in the upper Midwest, for example, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, nuclear-powered submarines are all getting buzzed by these objects, including underwater. And in a number of cases, these things have landed on military bases. Servicemen have approached them, and they approach, and they get a traumatic brain injury, brain damage, or they're killed, Carlson said. Carlson said there are dozens of open court cases that support the claim.
We got a call from this guy who's a tenured Stanford Medical School professor. He comes on and he's like, 11 years ago, the U.S. government reached out to me because I'm an expert on head injuries, on brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, and they had all these court cases from families of U.S. servicemen, over 100, who'd been killed by UFOs. The Department of Defense was refusing to give them death benefits or medical benefits. And he's like, so they're in the courts. And I was like, there are over 100 servicemen killed by UFOs? Like, what? He's like, yeah. And there are court cases about it. I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times? I don't know. And in a number of cases, these things have landed on military bases, including famously in Germany, in West Germany in the 70s. And servicemen have approached them. And they approach and they get traumatic brain injury, or they're killed. And he studied their brains.
So this is really interesting that they're studying this. Defense Department spokesman Susan Go told Military Times the story is false. Carlson, however, told the podcast host that if he ever encounters such objects or extraterrestrial life, he would interview the unknown from a distance. I'd be super respectful, he said, adding, whatever is coming off these machines is very bad for the human body. UFO headlines have been circulating throughout the news media over the last few months after U.S. officials shot down 4 objects over North America this month, including a Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina and 3 similar objects in Alaska, Michigan, and Canada. Following the response from federal officials, top Biden administration officials briefed senators on both sides of the aisle about the flying objects, which left lawmakers with more questions than answers, while demanding the government should disclose what was said during the classified meeting. Pentagon officials said in a draft document last week that a dominant artificial interstellar object could be releasing many small probes towards the Earth. I'm going to read this as my last story, okay? These dandelion seeds could be separated from the parent craft by the tidal gravitational force of the sun or by maneuvering capability, the report read. Let's get to that. This bombshell. New York Post. Pentagon officials suggest alien mothership in our solar system could send mini probes to Earth. Pentagon officials said in a draft document last week that aliens could be visiting our solar system and releasing smaller probes like missions conducted by NASA when studying other planets. A draft research report authored by Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, and Abraham Loeb, chairman of Harvard University's astronomy department, was released on March 7th and focuses on the physical constraints of unidentified aerial phenomena. An artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many such small probes during its close passage to Earth, an operational construct not too dissimilar from NASA missions, the report read. These dandelion seeds could be separated from the parent craft by the tidal gravitational force of the sun or by maneuvering capability. The AARO was established in July 2022 and is responsible for tracking objects in the sky, underwater, and in space, or possibly an object that has the ability to move from one domain to the other. Congress tasked NASA to find 90% of all objects near Earth that are larger than 140 meters in 2005, which resulted in Pan-STARRS telescopes, according to the report. On October 19, 2017, the Pan-STARRS detected an unusual interstellar object that was later named Dormammu, the guy that Dr. Strange fought in the movie. Dormammu, or Scout in Hawaiian. The object was cigar-shaped, appeared flat, and was propelled away from the sun without showing a cometary tail, leading scientists to believe it was artificial. 3 years later, another object was discovered, the report noted, namely NASA's Rocket Booster 2020 SO, which had no cometary trail. The report also said 6 months before, Dormammu made his closest approach. I'm saying it wrong, but I'm just going to say Dormammu. Made us a close to approach to Earth. A meteor-sized interstellar meteor, IM-2, crashed on Earth and exhibited an identical speed relative to the Sun at large distances and an identical shape to Dormammu. And with proper design, these tiny probes would reach the Earth or other solar system planets for exploration. As the parent craft passes by within a fraction of the Earth-Sun separation, just like Dormammu did, the authors wrote, astronomers would not be able to notice the spray of mini probes because they do not reflect enough sunlight for existing telescopes to notice them. The research paper comes a month after scrutiny of over identified flying objects over the U.S. Most notably, a Chinese spy balloon was shot down only after traversing across the skies over the U.S. So, there we go. I mean, you've got Tucker Carlson having a researcher come to him and say that he's identifying service members being affected from brain damage from UFOs. The Pentagon and people within the Pentagon saying that there is the possibility that there's an alien mothership in the solar system sending probes to Earth and the surrounding planets as well. So that's some pretty crazy stuff. More and more is coming out. Now, this could be to distract us from we're about to be in World War, but I like to think that we're going to be in World War, but also there are aliens. So I'm going to go with that. All right, so that's the show for today. We've gone for about an hour and 15 minutes here. We're wrapping up. I have the PayPal currently set to the show. So if you like the show, you're going to stick with us, like, subscribe, YouTube and Rumble, and then all the major audio platforms as well. We're on all of those. If you want to help support the show financially, I pay for everything currently out of pocket, and I appreciate any help that I can end up getting to keep this show going. And it can be like, supported by viewers like you. Like PBS is, except we're not going to have a bunch of trannies on the show and a bunch of weirdos transing and fucking up your kids' heads. So, please support the show. You can write to the show at reliefvalvepodcast@aol.com to reach me, ask any questions or something you want me to answer on air, and then comment on the show on YouTube or Rumble as well. And, if you enjoyed it, subscribe, please. And especially on Rumble. I've got the likes on Rumble that are coming in, right? But I need the subscribers on Rumble as well. So please follow the show on there as well. We're going to take our hiatus where I'm going to make some changes to the show. I'm going to stay in communication with all of you and let you know what those changes are going to be and how I'm going to the days I'm going to do and how I'm going to change it up moving forward. So it'll be a week to 2 week hiatus, and I'll keep you informed about how long that's going to be and how it's going to turn out, all right? So thank you to everyone that's stuck with us. And, the viewership and people following has been kind of roller coastering, has been fluctuating. It goes up, I get people, I lose a couple, and then there's some ones that always stick with us. So the ones that are there and are subscribed and sticking with us through this adventure here, I really appreciate it. Stick with us for this little hiatus. And I'm going to come back with a new and improved show and a format and how we're doing everything. All right. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon.